We've all heard the saying, follow your passion and you'll never have to work a day in your life. Well, that is bullshit. And we're going to talk about it today.
Hi, welcome back to Blunt Force Business. I'm Brian LaFauci.
And I'm Patrick Marino.
And today we're going to crush your dreams
Ooh.
in one fell swoop. Don't stop believing.
Today we're going to say, please stop believing.
Absolutely stop believing. We're going to talk about following your passion. Now, it's a shitty idea sometimes. Not all the time. Sometimes. We're kind of crushing it right out the gate.
Well, I think we're going to say that passion isn't enough. Passion isn't an idea.
It's a great starting place. I was teaching a class this morning on idea recognition. And so I have the participants in the class, they go through this exercise. And what they do is the first part of it is they write down all of the like whys and the things they love about this business idea that they're about to step into. First class in a series of 10 for business planning. And I let them go through that process and we do it and we go through it and everyone's like upbeat and optimistic and feeling good. And like, I'm like, all right, great. Now let's talk about the reality of your business journey and how much of your day is actually gonna be doing that thing that you just said you love so much on a daily basis.
Well, one of the other podcasts we did was Cash Before Cause, right? Where we talked about the social cause came before any actual building of the business plan.
Right.
Right. And like this is kind of similar, right? It's like you're passionate about something, but like, how can you monetize it, make money, scale it, be independently, financially secure with that idea?
Right.
Those are sometimes leaps.
Yes.
They're not like little steps, they're leaps.
Yes.
Like how do you get from point A to point B?
Yeah. And which leads us to our, that leap is a great lead into our first Blunt Force fact of the day, which is your dreams are free, but hustle is sold separately. It's like batteries from the kids' toys and we're playing little kids. Here's the toy, no fucking batteries, so you can't play with it.
We played in the foursome. We were in a golf tournament this weekend, and I was talking to a friend of mine. Like, there's one skill I would really love to have, would like to be good at golf. I would really love to be good at golf. Like, just good. You know what I mean? Like, just good.
Yeah.
But this, like, you know, am I going to work at it? Am I going to hustle?
Right.
It's like,
that's a great,
and I'm really passionate about it. Like, I really enjoy it. Like, it's good to get out there. It's fun when you hit I had a couple good shots this weekend. We actually won the tournament. It was like one of those where it's like 4 of you are playing and it's mostly best ball.
If you're asking me to relate to winning a tournament, I'm not going to be able to, but keep going. 3 of the shots
were almost always bad. And one of them was just good enough to kind of keep us in the play. And then we, made some ridiculous miracle shots. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, you're in first place. But like, it's just not. That's not what we're doing for a living. I don't know if that even works. I just wanted to share that story. Hey,
no, of course it works because you have that's your dream, right? Your dream is, and I can play that game too, right? So maybe mine wouldn't be golf, but I completely relate to it. I have, when people are following a passion, which a lot of people use as a base for starting their company, I've always had this dream of, wouldn't it be so cool to just once, and I mean, I would be cool with doing this once and never doing it again, go into a professional fighting, like MMA match in a arena and win.
So you got to bring my buddy in. He can tell you exactly about that.
Like when I watched your buddy that day, I was there when he won, and I was living vicariously.
And it's not just him though. There's like, did you see? I don't know if you were there, but the last time I was there was a 50-year-old dude who pounded the crap out of some 22-year-old kid.
I mean, it's not, but
the dream is still alive, Brian.
But I recognize the fact that when I go to jiu-jitsu and I watch the guys who are training, and those guys and sometimes you'll get paired up with them and they're cool, they're great. They know that there's a, gap here in skill but it makes me realize like, all right, am I really willing to work as hard as I got to work to beat that guy? And to relate this back to individuals as business ideas that kind of stem from this dream, like I would love to X.
Well, what's the most common one, do you think, that is like the common like movie trope, TV? Yeah, exactly. We're going to open a bar. We're going to open a restaurant. We're going to open up a club.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And then you see like the rescue guys, Bar Rescue and all those guys, and they come in and they You're never even here. Like when you are here, you're drinking all the times because that's why they want to start
course.
their business. Their
Right.
business is just to have a place where they can go and hang out
Yeah,
and
it's
drink.
a cool social place.
Yeah, but they don't want to actually run it.
Well, I think
Yeah.
in theory, I think if you said, you really want one, they're going to say, yes, I do. Yes, I do. But really it's this, what's there is a passion to have, this surrounding, this environment to say, this is my place, this is my bar, and this is and I think there's a lot of that, right? There's a lot of people that go into that realm, and that's what they're driving at, and they want that. And I think starting from a dream is important. It's definitely a component that I think is good to have. Like, all right, we have this dream. That's where we're going to start and move forward from. But to this blunt force fact, right? The dream doesn't equate, even if that dream is in theory passes all of the litmus tests of, right? Because that's what people will do is they'll go down this road of, all right, here's my idea, and they'll give you the reasons why it's going to work, and that 100% it could be correct, but there's all this other stuff behind the scenes that makes that company like.
Running a company, you have to run a bar. Like if you're running the bar, you have the expenses, you have the hiring, the firing, dealing with part-time people, which is a bitch, right? All those different things that are part of running a bar. That's the reality of it. And you know what? Like, there's another way of looking at this where you've got these these serial entrepreneurs who don't care much about any of the businesses they work with.
Yeah.
They look for opportunities
Yep.
that are good financial decisions, and then they work their ass off and make it work.
Right.
Right.
And
that's
there's
like
no passion in those.
Exactly. And there's no dream there. Well, the dream is make more money.
Right.
But the dream is not own a Papa John's franchise. You know what I mean? The dream is like seeing that Papa John's is going to take off, buying 3 or 4 of them, making sure they're freaking well staffed and then get out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's like a whole other way of looking at it, where it's like, it's all about the hustle and the dream doesn't even matter, but it's like, if you don't look at the hustle aspect of it, the part where you actually have to run the business,
Right.
then it's like, like you see people who want to be like a yoga instructor. It's like, oh, great. Is it a business? Maybe you can make a little bit of money, but is it a business? And that's where this hustle part comes into it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, my recommendation to everyone is the dream's important. It's the basis of why you're going to do what you do. You're going to find meaning in it. You're going to do all these other things that are really going to be the basis, but let's have a conversation about the other stuff that you need to be really conscious of before you just jump in behind an idea and a passion that sounds good.
Which kind of brings us to blunt force fact number 2. We kind of trampled on it, but go
we
ahead.
didn't trample on it. We lightly tiptoed in its
We're
direction.
kind of in there. We're like we're in the blunt zone. We're in the blunt zone.
The
So
blunt zone
we're
between
like
1 and
hanging
2.
out between blunt force fact number 1 and blunt force fact number 2.
But there's a little overlap between the two.
I like to operate in the gray.
That's where we are right now. I mean, the first blunt force fact, really, the second one is a little more strategic. I believe the first blunt force fact is really kind of getting people to, let me back up, because why is this an issue? It's an issue because I know many people who are kicking around an idea that feels good in their head, and 3 days later they'll call me and be like, I just I'm like, oh Jesus, you did? Like you threw money at that, like without anything, nothing, not like it felt good on a Monday, and on Wednesday it was like, I just ordered all this stuff. I'm going to start them. And that's where I get, you talk about the cart before the horse. We had a client once that came to the first business planning class that we were doing in one of the industries we were doing it in. And as he introduced himself, he talked about the $15,000 hot dog cart he just purchased, brand new, which I'm like, okay, that's cool. And then he proceeded to have zero idea about what he needs for licenses. Neither him nor his partner had any food license to even get behind it and operate. Like there was I want to own a hot dog cart. I'm going to dump all this money. I'm laughing.
There's some dirty ass hot dogs out there right now.
Right, that are not passing.
Like, don't eat those hot dogs out of that cart. But that guy has no license. He's no idea what he's doing.
So those are the cases where we're talking about, the dream. The dream is great. you know, and if your dream is to be the hot dog king of San Diego, that's fantastic. We wish you well with that. But there's a lot more to it. And I always get scared when people dump money into something on just a dream. Right. That's where our job, I think both of our jobs is conservation of people's wealth.
Yeah.
And making sure they don't go and throw their retirement into something that is just on a wing and a prayer.
Right.
Yeah. So we can go now into Blunt Force
Well,
Factor.
we're freaking, we are 1 and 2 together combined, really. But I wanted to, I don't know which intro we're going to choose, but people get caught up in that. If you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And it's just freaking such bullshit.
Yeah. We're going to choose that intro. It was better.
Yeah. It's not true. And like, that's the big thing with the dream thing is they're like, oh, like I'm really passionate about this. So it's just going to work.
Yep.
I'm not going to work because I'm going to love it so much.
Right.
Because there's always some aspect of the part that you're not going to love.
Without a doubt. Let's dig into that.
Let's get into Blunt Force Factor number 2.
What is it?
I can't remember. It's passion without a plan is just a hobby.
Passion without a plan.
Which is why I thought I was walking over because I was talking about the yoga instructor. Because it's like, it's like being into yoga is a hobby. Being even a yoga instructor or even like a personal trainer. Like how many personal trainers make enough money to make a living? What percentage?
Right.
It's mostly just like either a part-time gig or something they do to help people out.
Part-time. You're right.
Or it's a temporary thing. It's like I was a personal trainer when I was younger. You know, it's like it's really hard to run a personal training business because it's hard to scale. Same thing for the yoga instructor. You know, it's like, and we go back to a lot of our earlier Blunt Force Factor.
Well, they're completely different models.
I understand.
Being a yoga instructor and owning a yoga, if you've ever been to like Rafa Yoga, which is one near us that's really, really well run, that is a business model done beautifully.
Right.
Right. You know, so
I'm not saying it can't be done. Just like you can have a personal training business. Right. You can have a business that's built around, a gym, a workout area. People can have memberships. I mean, there's and you can do sort of who's the P90X guy? Tony.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, not Tony Robbins.
Tony
that's
Robbins
the other.
is the motivational guy. He's also
the P90X is
do your best and forget the rest. But I mean, like that guy, he scaled, right? So it's like you have a model. That's a business model, right? Where it's like tries something out, tries the program, tests it, puts it out into the smaller area, figures out it works. Now he records it. Now you start selling it to
it's beautiful.
right? And so it's like that's a business, right? And
there was a point in time where everyone had P90X and on DVD.
I used to quote that guy all the time. Now you can't do it. It's so funny because now it's not even that long ago.
But nobody knows.
You can't do the Tony stuff.
I do don't remember his last name. That's how much you can't do it anymore.
In some of these podcasts.
I think he made enough money to be cool with the fact that people forgot his last name.
He's got another one coming out too. I just got targeted by like an online ad.
Awesome. Yeah. So I mean, passion without a plan, is really just a hobby, and that goes. I know I keep talking about what we do in business planning, but this conversation is a lot about that planning process. When people who are watching this video are getting the most out of it, or people who are contemplating like an idea, right? And I always go back to,
or they're in it,
or maybe they're in it.
And a lot of people, I think of like farm stands and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Like especially in this time of year, you're going to all these little stands. You got these little crafts. It's like, oh, I've got my business, right? And it's like you are dependent on good weather. You're dependent on being at the right event. You know what I mean? Like it's not.
Absolutely.
Is that a business or is it a hobby, right? I'm crafting these little things and selling them at farm stands.
I think the delineator is tough. It's a gray space where you delineate, but whether you're starting or you're doing it right now and maybe you're not finding success, then the takeaway from this video is you need to build out a stronger plan. Right. And if you've never taken a business planning class and you're running right now and you've been doing it for a bit and you're kind of struggling to find a grasp and a hold, take a class. Because one of the things that we talk about when we break away from like the why and the passion is, all right, now let's look at all the other things. Do you have a marketing plan? Like, are you a marketer? Because if you're not, then that plan might not be good if you're not outsourcing it or right? I always like the sales one because I don't consider myself a very good salesperson.
Right.
But that's such a
You
key.
and I both. We got to find one.
we
What are we doing?
Yeah, right. We do need to find
We got
one.
to loop in a salesperson.
I feel like I feel like that's the next growth check mark for us to outsource. But when you think about sales, it's such a unique thing, and it's a really unique skill set. People I know that are good at sales, they're really good at sales,
Right.
and they have that skill set. So it's being good at that skill set, putting forward. Are you a finance person? I love that one. Right? Do you have a background in business finance? Like, can you read a profit and loss statement, understand it? Can you put together financial project? And there are frequently people who don't have that skill set, and that's part of the plan. And it's completely devoid 99% of the time from the passion that why you got into this thing and why you're doing it. That's not most of the time. No one's like, I can't wait to develop this new baby diaper because my baby used to always get rashes, and this diaper is going to be rash free and blah, blah, blah. And what I really can't wait to do about it is dig into the numbers every day.
Right.
Like, no one says that shit. So, but
find a manufacturer, find a distribution plan,
right.
you know,
Yeah. Put together an operational platform for the
hire part-time people to do it when I'm not around.
Yes. Those are very much separate from the passion. And all of that comes with taking the time to get the skill set and education and plan that out. It's not just about the passion.
We kind of did the same thing. We were kind of working on blunt force fact number 2 and blunt force fact number 3 together.
Nah, maybe.
Because you mentioned that. Actually, you said the words.
I touched on the words, but I mean, we haven't really gone down that one. More so, it's you need a plan. So there's a million ways out there to get a plan. Blunt force business.
It's okay to have a hobby
Blunt
too.
force
Like, imagine
business
if you can-
2024 should hopefully
Imagine if you can take a hobby and make a little bit of money with it. It's not the worst thing in the world. Like again,
No.
like maybe I coach people on the side. You know what I mean? Like it's a side gig. You know, like,
Plenty
or
of
I
us
just help
have-
people out. Or
Yes.
I'm a mentor for entrepreneurs, right? Volunteer with like low income groups. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. Or people who have disabilities, whatever it is, right? And you volunteer, and it's not a business, it's a hobby. It's cool.
Absolutely.
Still good.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong. And hobbies can make you money.
Yep.
There's nothing wrong with a hobby that can make you money. It's just what I look at as like the delineating line is the minute that this thing has to produce X amount of money to contribute to my overall health, welfare, well-being, right? Living.
Right. It's almost like if you can make a living. Can you make a living?
Yeah.
Period.
Or even
It's a sustainable living.
Right. Or can it augment my living? Like,
Right.
so I'm a teacher and, but I want to be in this salary range that I'm never going to get to because we're capped here. Okay. Well, can I augment the work I do here by starting this business that's a part-time business and, right? Or maybe it's a hobby,
Right.
whatever it might be. But I think the minute it becomes something that you're doing to reach a financial goal, that's when that's when it changes. That's when the passion has to have a plan
Yep.
that turns it into a business.
All right. What's blunt force fact number 3, Brian?
Well, blunt force fact number 3 comes to your lane of operation in that not every passion is marketable.
Right. I think it kind of speaks to those guys, the headhunter entrepreneurs types who are just looking for money, right? Ideas that are marketable, right? Things that already have a market or a market opportunity.
Right.
In other words, what they've done is they've looked at the financials. They've looked at, here's this idea that can serve X number of people.
Yep.
And I know if I invest in it or if I start it or if I buy this franchise in this area, whatever it is, then it's going to explode. It's going to make me a ton of money because it's marketable.
Yeah.
Right. And that's harder to do when you just have something that you really care about doing. And we've talked to a couple of those people, right? It's like, I care about making this particular product, right? And I won't mention any names, but like, it's like, I care about making this particular type of t-shirt, right? But is there even a market for it? You know what I mean? Are there going to be people that buy it?
Right.
Or is there, to your point, are there enough people that would make it sustainable as a company, a business?
And that becomes almost a discussion on consumer economics, right? Like looking at ideas can be great. There's a reason why there's some amazing stuff out there, but or like some stuff that's everywhere that's government subsidized. There's a reason for that. And usually the minute I look at anything and see that the government is giving money to encourage people to do it, it's because the natural consumer market doesn't exist.
Right.
Because if it did, you wouldn't have to touch that. right? The government does not have to subsidize my Yeti, right? I buy the shit out of those Yetis, right? Because they have such a consumer value to me, and we can go on and on.
Right.
Government's not subsidizing Ferrari.
I mean, there's
right?
a lot of stuff too that gets out into the environment early. So like, tablet computers, for example, like those were out way before the iPad. There were tablet computers. There were a lot of different ones. They all worked out. They all worked well and like whatever, but they did not have the market at the time to do well. And so, when really it was probably like, I don't know what the factors were, broadband, internet being a huge one, streaming platforms like Netflix, like some of these things that then made the iPad as something that people wanted,
Yeah.
like that had to happen first before
Right,
that became
right.
marketable. But before that, just this tablet computer.
And some of
it was like, it seemed cool. Like you could see it like in futuristic shows, people would have something that they were kind of like doing things on, but like it wasn't a consumer level thing yet. There was no desire for it. There was no market for it. So they all failed.
And some of that is, some of these larger companies are phenomenal at creating their own market.
Right.
At really just, at creating a brand and that's Yeti did that well.
Yep.
Yeti, created their own
Yeah,
market.
the premium
Yep.
cooler.
Yep. And I think
type of
Apple
thing.
did that well with the iPad.
Yeah,
They
Apple did too.
Just kind of made the market. But as a small business owner, it's really tough to make your own market. Like
Right.
that's not a space that is easy to play in. I don't recommend someone doing a startup and saying, I'm just going to get a bunch of seed money. I'm going to get a couple $1 million of seed money. I'm going to create my own market. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, Steve Jobs could walk out there with the
Right.
turtleneck on and say, this is going to be a thing. And you're like, all right,
Yeah. Right.
okay, got it.
Right.
And it wasn't like he was batting 100% because he had
Right.
a couple of bad ideas too.
Right.
So like, but he had, like you just said the iPhone, now you've got the thing that looks like an iPhone, but it's bigger. And it's like, all right,
Yeah.
I'm on board. You
Yeah.
created it. Didn't exist before.
Yeah. Great job. A+. But there isn't a market for everything, and you need to know that. And one of the ways for our listeners to kind of start to think through that is ask these questions to yourself. Like question number one is the obvious one. Not just would I pay for this, because obviously more than likely you would because it's your idea and you
The
think it's
bias,
great.
that bias
Right.
is tough sometimes. Yeah.
But would people pay for it at the price point I think I'm going to have to charge for it? Okay. So then you go through that. But then you go through like the next level of that and you look at it, say, okay, if people buy this and it's not a life-sustaining necessity, right? So it's not water or food or like a basic thing, and it now has to compete in the market. What are you pulling money away from? Because that's the reality is people, when someone buys something, it means they didn't buy something else every time. So assuming that money is already going somewhere, right? Where was it and why is it coming to you now? And are you confident that it will come to you? That you can get it to come to you. So those two marketable discussions are, and then we go to the next level of marketability is, do you have the ability to get in front of people to to see if it's out there? So there's a lot. I mean, we'll do a whole class on the marketability of a product, but blunt force fact number 3, when dealing with a passion seem great, but to be marketable, they got to have a consumer base that you can actively and easily get to, and that has a disposable income for that product or service.
Yeah, or you have to be able to create that somehow.
Yeah.
Which you can do. Talented marketers can.
Yes.
That's one of their jobs.
I think it's harder, right? A harder entry point is, but that's usually where, like, when you go in that route, the reward on the back end is pretty massive, obviously.
Right.
A harder way to approach is to say, I'm going to create the market for this, as opposed to, I know the market's there, I'm going to meet the need of the market. I'm going to solve the problem that's already existing. So 3 blunt force facts. Don't stop.
Please stop believing.
Passion has to have purpose. So blunt force fact number 1, dreams are free, but hustle is sold separately. You got to work for what you want. Blunt force fact number 2, passion without a plan is just a hobby, which is okay.
Hobbies are cool. We're big believers in hobbies.
If hobby doesn't drain your bank account for an unnecessary reason, enjoy your hobbies. And blunt force fact number 3, not every passion is marketable, right?
I believe in all that.
I'm Brian LaFauci.
Patrick Marino.
Until next time.
Thank you.